Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, is one of the most revered figures in American history. Known for his leadership during the American Civil War and his efforts to end slavery, Lincoln's legacy continues to resonate today. Born into humble beginnings, Lincoln's rise to the highest office in the land is a story of resilience, intelligence, and dedication to the principles of freedom and democracy. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a one-room log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky, now known as LaRue County. His family was poor, and his father, Thomas Lincoln, was a farmer who struggled to make ends meet. Lincoln's mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, died when he was just 9 years old, leaving a profound impact on the young boy. His father remarried, and Lincoln's stepmother, Sarah Bush Lincoln, proved to be a caring influence in his life, encouraging his education and supporting his intellectual pursuits. Despite the lack of formal schooling, Lincoln was an avid reader. He borrowed books from neighbors and taught himself a variety of subjects, including literature, law, and history. His love for reading laid the foundation for his intellectual development, even though he only attended formal schooling for about a year. Lincoln's education was informal but extensive, and he developed a deep understanding of the American Constitution and the ideals of liberty and justice. Lincoln's career was marked by a series of shifts that reflected his adaptability and determination. In his early adulthood, he worked in various jobs, including as a rail splitter, store clerk, and surveyor. In 1832, Lincoln decided to run for the Illinois state legislature, but was defeated. Undeterred, he continued his education and in 1837 began reading law books in earnest. He eventually passed the bar exam in 1837 and became a practicing lawyer in Springfield, Illinois. During his time as a lawyer, Lincoln became known for his integrity and logical reasoning. He was involved in several high-profile cases and earned a reputation for his ability to break down complex legal issues into understandable terms. His experience in the courtroom gave him a platform to enter politics, and in 1834 Lincoln was elected to the Illinois state legislature as a member of the Whig Party. In 1846, Lincoln was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, where he served a single term. During his time in Congress, he was an outspoken critic of the Mexican-American War, which he believed was an unjust conflict initiated by President James K. Polk. Lincoln's opposition to the war made him unpopular with many, but it demonstrated his willingness to challenge the status quo. After his time in Congress, Lincoln returned to his law practice and took a break from politics. However, by the mid-1850s, the political landscape in the United States was shifting, and Lincoln became increasingly involved in the debate over slavery and the expansion of the United States into new territories. The 1850s were a tumultuous time in American politics. The issue of slavery was dividing the nation, and the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, which allowed for the potential expansion of slavery into new territories, sparked outrage in the North. In response to this legislation, a new political party, the Republican Party, was formed, and it quickly became a voice for those who opposed the spread of slavery. Lincoln, who had long been morally opposed to slavery, was drawn to the Republican Party. In 1858, he ran for the U.S. Senate in Illinois against the incumbent Senator Stephen A. Douglas, a proponent of popular sovereignty, the idea that each territory should decide for itself whether to allow slavery. Although Lincoln lost the Senate race, the series of debates between the two candidates, known as the Lincoln-Douglas debates, brought Lincoln national attention. In these debates, Lincoln eloquently argued that slavery was morally wrong and that the nation could not endure half slave and half free. His speeches were widely publicized, and they helped to establish him as a prominent voice in the national conversation on slavery. In 1860, Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States defeating 3 other candidates in a contentious race. His election was met with immediate opposition from southern states where slavery was deeply entrenched. Southern leaders feared that Lincoln's anti-slavery stance would lead to the abolition of slavery in the South, which they saw as essential to their way of life and economic system. In response to Lincoln's election, several southern states seceded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. The Civil War began in April 1861, shortly after Lincoln took office. The conflict, which would last for 4 bloody years, would test Lincoln's leadership and his commitment to preserving the Union. The Civil War was a defining moment in American history, and Lincoln's leadership during this time is widely regarded as one of the most important aspects of his presidency. Lincoln faced immense challenges as the leader of a divided nation. The Confederacy, led by President Jefferson Davis, had a strong military and was determined to preserve slavery. Meanwhile, Lincoln's Union forces struggled to contain the Southern Rebellion. Lincoln initially sought to preserve the Union, rather than to immediately abolish slavery, but as the war continued, his views evolved. He recognized that slavery was not only morally wrong, but also a cause of the conflict. In 1862, after several significant Union victories, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that all slaves in Confederate-held territory were to be freed. The proclamation did not immediately end slavery, but it was a significant step toward the abolition of slavery and altered the course of the war by making it a fight for freedom as well as union. The Emancipation Proclamation also allowed African Americans to enlist in the Union Army, which added to the North's manpower and helped to turn the tide of the war. Lincoln's decision to issue the proclamation was met with both praise and criticism, but it firmly aligned the Union cause with the abolition of slavery. The Civil War continued for several more years with heavy casualties on both sides. Lincoln faced criticism for the high number of casualties and for the long duration of the war, but he remained committed to the Union cause. His ability to navigate the complexities of the war, maintain public support, and balance the demands of various political factions was crucial to the eventual Union victory. One of Lincoln's most famous speeches, the Gettysburg Address, was delivered on November 19, 1863, at the site of the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. The speech, which lasted only a few minutes, is considered one of the most eloquent expressions of American democracy ever given. In it, Lincoln reaffirmed the nation's commitment to the principles of liberty and equality and honored those who had given their lives in the battle for freedom. The speech begins with the words 7 years ago, referencing the founding of the nation in 1776. Lincoln emphasized that the Civil War was not just a struggle to preserve the Union, but a test of whether a nation founded on the principles of freedom and equality could survive. The Gettysburg Address became a powerful statement of American ideals and a symbol of Lincoln's vision for the nation's future. In 1864, Lincoln was re-elected for a second term as president. His second term would be marked by the final stages of the Civil War and the passage of the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which abolished slavery throughout the United States. The amendment was passed by Congress in January 1865 and ratified by the states later that year. However, Lincoln did not live to see the full extent of the post-war Reconstruction process. On April 14, 1865, just days after General Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse effectively ended the Civil War, Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer, while attending a play at Ford's Theatre in Washington, D.C. He died the following day on April 15, 1865. Lincoln's assassination was a tragic end to the life of a man who had led the nation through its darkest days. His death left the nation in mourning, and his legacy as a champion of freedom, equality, and national unity only grew stronger in the years following his death. Abraham Lincoln's legacy is one of unparalleled importance to the United States. His leadership during the Civil War preserved the Union and ended the institution of slavery, two monumental achievements that reshaped the nation. Lincoln's vision of a nation dedicated to the principles of liberty, equality, and democracy continues to influence the United States and the world today. In addition to his political achievements, Lincoln's character and integrity have made him a model of leadership for generations of Americans. His ability to empathize with others, his dedication to justice, and his willingness to make difficult decisions in the face of adversity are qualities that continue to inspire leaders across the globe. Lincoln is frequently ranked as one of the greatest American presidents, and his contributions to the nation's moral and political development remain foundational to the country's identity. His commitment to ending slavery, preserving the Union, and promoting equality left an indelible mark on American society, making him a symbol of hope, resilience, and the pursuit of freedom. In conclusion, Abraham Lincoln's life and presidency were defined by the challenges he faced and the vision he held for the United States. His leadership during the Civil War, his commitment to ending slavery, and his eloquent defense of the principles of liberty and democracy have ensured that his place in history remains secure. Lincoln's legacy as a leader who guided the nation through its greatest crisis while holding firm to the ideals of freedom and justice continues to inspire people around the world. Please like and subscribe for more historical content.